Hi, everyone. I'm Whitney Ortiz with Whole Health Self-Care. I am thrilled you're joining us for the Whole Health series, where top experts from around the world are coming together to highlight how today's self-actualizing women professionals can create greater fulfillment, peace, and wellness through their self-care and mindset. And in the process, achieve greater impact through their work, make better decisions, and have greater capacity to achieve their goals. I am deeply honored to have here with us Robin Joy Meyers. Robin is a molecular geneticist turned fear strategist. She's a TEDx and International Speaker, an author, an executive leadership coach, and the founder of the Fear Method. She uses science-backed strategies to empower women to amplify their voices, speak their truth unapologetically, and manage their fears through the executive coaching and the workshops that she leads. Robin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Whitney. I'm so excited to be with you.
I'd like to start off our conversation today to go right to the really one of the core fears that so many women around the world have. And that's really putting themselves out there, feeling that they are worthy enough of doing so, and really articulating what their needs are. So can you speak to that for a few moments?
Absolutely. You know, I think as women in particular, we really struggle with our self-worth. And I have learned myself, and I want to shout it from rooftops for women to always know that you're worth it. Always know you're worth it, because we really are the ones who can validate and give our self-worth to ourselves and very quickly take it away from ourselves. And I think until we can really sit with our individual selves and really get to know our non-negotiables and how we feel, and have honest conversations of understanding what triggers us and what bothers us, to be able to say, I don't feel good about someone saying that to me. You know I'm better than that, and I know I can do this, and not necessarily have what we think society wants of us. And so society very easily can take our self-worth away, right? From advertisements in the workplace, even in community at home and stuff like that. It's very easy to give that up, but it's a conscious choice to really know and go beyond saying I'm worth it, to really sit with that and say, I can only validate my self-worth.
It has to come from within.
It does. And I like to use the example, actually, if I said to you, I love your sweater or whatever you're wearing, I love what you're wearing today, and you really don't feel good in it, right? You might be like, thanks, but in your mind, you're talking to yourself how you don't like the way you look. So I could try and validate you, but you're going to be like, turn it right off.
Or flip it and turn it to something negative, like, oh my gosh, what's on my sweater? Like, how is that going to be perpetuating itself throughout the rest of my day? Wondering, do I really
like, what's wrong with me? Yeah, is there a spot? What do you really like it? But instead of just being able to walk in and say, I feel good about myself, and it's not even the physical, it's the mental of getting up and creating good habits and saying, I feel good about me, and I know what I want. And that's work every day. That's not something that you don't stop working on. It just, you learn to turn the negative talk off, because we're very good at the negative talk, right? We're the first ones to put ourselves down, and we have to treat ourselves like we treat our own best friends, right? Because we really spend the most time with ourselves. So,
and as you say, it's that practice, it's that intention, and it can create a positive habit, because the negative self-talk and anything that we say to others as well can become a bad habit. And that
totally,
it just becomes a part of who we are and how we operate and how we show up and how others see us. So we do have that ability, as you're saying, to really shift that, which gets into neuroplasticity. And if you can talk a bit about like what that really is from the scientific background and perspective, how does that work? How can we put that to good use for ourselves?
Yeah, I would love to. Neuroplasticity is like one of my favorite things because neuroplasticity, which is fascinating, is the ability of our brain to actually reprogram itself and to change its physical structure and function. And it's all based on your inputs. So our brain, which is completely brilliant, likes patterns and behaviors, right? Well, we all have good patterns, which become habits, and we all have some bad patterns, which we don't like to admit all the time, but we do have some bad patterns that become bad behaviors, like negative self-talk, right? So for a neuroplastic change to happen, we basically have to create a new neuronal pattern. Like literally the neurons in your brain have to create almost like a new sequence, right? If you think of like a circuit board that goes A, B, C, D, well, if C's not functioning, you've got to get a way to go around C. So think of like creating a new circuit board. The more you practice that new pattern, it becomes a new behavior and habit. So that's why very often you see 21-day challenges,
Mhm.
because it takes a minimum of 21 days. And interestingly enough, someone's like, even in 21 days, it doesn't work for me, which is true because it's something that you continually practice. It's also true that your brain will actually kind of talk you out of that change because it's so used to the pattern, right? So you don't realize your subconscious is saying, it's not that bad. Like you've lived with it for so long. So why are you trying to shift it? Like, don't get up
The
this morning if you
comfort,
want to.
the comfort
Yeah.
from the what you know is
Yeah. It comes from
better
what you
than
know. Like,
you don't know, the uncertainty.
yeah. Like, oh, you can exercise tomorrow. If you're tired, take the extra 5 minutes, go back to sleep, sort of thing.
Mhm.
So I like to say you have to get really comfortable being uncomfortable and really kind of work on changing it because it really is active work to say, nope, it's another day and I'm going to keep going. And so you almost play a mind game with yourself, right? So if you're one of those people that physically needs like a calendar in front of you to check the box, like this is
Mhm.
what I'm working on and it's day 18, I did it. Like some people have to see it, right? Just depends how you process it. But what people don't realize is we've always been told that you're either like a left brain thinker or a right brain, right? We're either the analytical or we're the creative. Actually, we're both. What we're not allowed to do, what we've never been taught to do, is let that foster together, right? And so that's what all of neuroplasticity really is about. It's allowing that creativity, the subconscious and conscious to come together. I'm like holding my hands like it's a brain, but left and right coming together. I talk with my hands. So it's all about it allowing to come and foster together. So neuroplasticity is really about allowing the um, patterns to change into good habits and good behaviors. But you do have to realize that it does take work. But literally, by showing your brain these new things, whether it's environment, like you're almost reprogramming and restructuring it, but you will actually change the physical structure.
Yes, I mean, the whole concept that we do have a choice in how we think and how we act, and it's got to be a conscious intention, and it's got to be like all the time.
All
And
the
it's
time.
almost like you're, as you say, you're like two different people, or you are more aware, you're more like observant of yourself if you really get yourself into this like plan. Almost like, I'm going to do this, I'm really going to think about everything that I'm thinking about, how am I saying it.
Mm-hmm. It really is. It's a conscious choice, right? So it's almost. I like to use the scenario that unless like the house, God forbid, is burning down, like you have 5 minutes to take a deep breath and pause and
Mhm.
really think about what your response is going to be to anything, right? So if you're trying to make this change, but let's say getting up to exercise and normally you are running out the door for something, like if you just take a deep breath and stop and pause for a second, like, you can build in those couple of minutes, right? So
Mhm.
it's just really sitting and really consciously making a decision and sticking to it. And then not have the negative self-talk. So if you miss a day, you back it up and you kind of reprogram and start again.
Mhm. And it also gets to how we respond to others, that
Mm-hmm.
we have that choice. It's to ourselves, and it's also when we're engaging with other people. Like, what are the words that we're using? What choice are we going to make in terms of how we're going to show up with to them too, as well, right?
Totally, totally. And
Mm.
it's not necessarily, it's learning to not have to come up with an excuse, right? I like to, I was talking about this past week about taking the word but out of your
Mhm.
sentences and conversations. I'm very conscious when I write even an email to, when I read it, if I have but in there, because I think of that more as an apology of, I'm apologizing for not doing something, to switch that word to however.
Mhm.
So,
And or something else that's
and is good,
positive.
but is this, it's an apology word to me,
Mhm. Yeah, that's such a powerful takeaway. Thank you. And I've heard you frame it as like the 3 C's of life, like choice, chance, and change. Can you talk about
Yeah,
that structure, that sequence?
absolutely. So my 3 C's, you have a choice to take a chance to make a change.
So,
So we have a choice to really, um, take that chance in making a change. So it's really being able to live presently with yourself, right? It's a chance to really almost, kind of be the detective in your life and say, is this what I want? And really kind of dig down and take control, right? And it doesn't matter really at what stage you are, whether you are married, you're not married, you're beginning a career, you have young children, or you're an empty nester. I'm an empty nester. You have aging parents, whatever that stage is, life is full of changes, right? So things should change, and that's how we grow. So be ready for that, but realize that there is a choice on how we view that change to occur.
mhm. No, thank you. And let's talk now about the science that you study deeply around fear,
Hmm.
and what really is fear? How do we experience it? Because it does come up when we're trying to make those changes, take the choice to actually change how we think and the patterns that we imprint. You talk about the fear method as well that you've created.
Yes,
That's all.
I'd love to. I'd love to. Um, so first and foremost, fear is scientifically a real thing, and I think, and this is where my molecular genetics finally comes back into my life as, like, oh, now it all makes sense.
Mhm.
But so for fear to happen, the fear response, right? Even your typical flight or flight response, 5 areas of your brain light up just for the response to happen, and it's the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, sensory cortex, and the amygdala. But the amygdala, this little teeny, like, fingernail size thing in your brain, actually stores imprints of every response to fear from, actually, they're showing now, from in utero
Mm.
throughout your life until you die. So I like to use the analogy of, think of it like a tattoo, right? Like a stamp. So every single response is just like a tattoo. It's difficult to remove, but it's not impossible. And it's really important you think of it like that, because really until age 7 to 8, a child has no control of what those imprints are. They're based on a parent's response, a caregiver's response, siblings, their environment. So we usually don't understand any of those responses until later in life. And it could be a boss that triggers something. It could be our own children doing something that we respond to that triggers something. And it really becomes a very conscious choice to understand what happens. So fear is real. Society kind of has fed us this dialogue that it's this negative brick wall that should stop us. And what I like to try and shift this conversation is that it's actually a very positive thing, because it's telling us to wake up. Like something's in front of us, wake up, and let's take the moment. You have a choice to listen to what it's telling you. So if it's something that's in danger, fight or flight, yeah, if you have to, you're going to run and obviously save your life or do something that you need to out of that response. But if it's something like, say, changing jobs or something that excites you, but yeah, things are scary, but it gives you a chance to like almost become that analytical detective to say, okay, why should I be scared? I'm excited, but let's look at why. So I like to say, living fearlessly isn't without fear. It's just living with a courageous presence. Like you just have to really live very consciously and courageously. So the fear method is fear, instead of feeling, this negative side, the positive flip is fear should stand for forgive, emerge, accept, and resolve. So the forgiveness is for you to forgive. It's for you to let go of these imprints that you might have thought served you as a child, but it's not serving you as an adult. And I like to say, frankly, those childhood, the negatives that you think might have happened in your childhood may be your greatest asset now as an adult. When you allow yourself to really sit and learn that, and it comes with a lot of, time to sit and really discover who you are, then you can emerge with a conscious decision as to what you want to do with that imprint. If it doesn't serve you now, then let it go. If it serves you, fantastic, keep it going. Accept that you're making that conscious choice, and then resolve to the decision you want it to be. If it's a business decision, am I going to go through with this new business that I want? But I've done all the back work to say, I know what the pros and the cons, and I've done that decision making. So the fear method kind of lets you sit and take that time and take that pause to really almost analytically merge your subconscious and your, the left and the right, and kind of go through and make a conscious choice as to how you want to deal with it.
And where some of those most challenging, the hardest things through childhood can become the greatest sources of strength.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of parents are really grappling with that right now too, due to the pandemic and the effects that it's having on their children. So what ways can they show up in the home as well as in the workplace with that very intentional mindset to help create, as well as possible, positive imprints that build strength and resilience that will thus carry forward into the future for those individuals and the generations to come. So it's a very empowering concept and method. And I am grateful for the gift that you're giving viewers today to go deeper in this with you through a free consultation that you're kindly offering. Would you mind sharing how people can get a hold of you if they're interested in going deeper?
Absolutely. I invite anyone to go to my website. My calendar link is on there. So just sign up for a complimentary discovery call, and we can just have a call, a 40-minute discovery call, and just dig into what is that challenge that you're having. And I'd be happy to have that time with you.
Thank you, Robin. And that's www.robinjoymeyers.com.
Thank you.
And I welcome everybody to explore her tremendous background and expertise, her various talks and writings. Robin, thank you so much for being here with us. It's a real pleasure and gives us so much to think about and really carry forward after this conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Whitney.